Everything is cool. Everything is cool. Blacktastic to have you here. Native Borne, been checking out some of your stuff.
Thank you.
Representing here in Africa and just letting people know that it's more than just, fog in the mist. They're like, oh, what's in Africa? What's going on?
Right.
I had a friend who, when we came to study abroad, he said he got to the airport and he was looking for the leopards and lions and elephants at the airport.
Serious?
Yeah. I said,
Wow.
yeah, but what you're doing is definitely helping people understand what is really going on.
Thank you.
But I have a couple of questions I wanted to ask you. The first one is, a broad one, and that's what's the most important lesson that you would say that you've learned since you repatriated to Ghana?
That is real. Because when you're in the US or whatever country you're in, you have this idea of traveling to Africa, how your life would be. Some people want to live off the land, some people want to start a business, some people just want to get away from the system that they're in and just live more simple and just come here. And it could look really good in the mind, but when you come here, it's totally different. For example, just the money. You come here, but oh man, my money stretches further here. And you start to live here with the same lifestyle that you live in your country, and you start seeing those dollars, those CDs start, being spent quickly because everything costs here.
Yeah.
It costs. That's what they say here in Ghana. Like, oh, it costs, and it's really true. So
I know from the outset, people look at the Ghana cedi as just kind of like monopoly money.
Exactly.
You don't take it serious, and then
like, I could do this, I could do that, and then no. And my suggestion that I give people is, I don't say come here and just live a local life. Like find a balance between the two. But you got to do it quickly. I remember too, 4 years ago, you was telling us that it's kind of the same. Like look at the 20 CDs like $20.
Right.
And that's true, I understood it later on, but the best thing that people can do is really adapt quickly so they won't waste that money.
Yeah, and I also say, I always tell people, definitely try to come with a plan, in terms of a way to have more income coming in. For me, it's the internet, also university. But that's always a major thing. So, I think that's very helpful for future repatriates to, take that lesson. And then a follow-up, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently in your repatriation process?
When we first came here, our plan was to come here and start a business online, like you said. We bought something online where we have a blueprint how to be successful with Amazon books. So we bought the whole blueprint. Was excited about it. It was like, let's do this in Africa. So we didn't do it there. So what I would have done is do it in my home country. Do it there, get some success, see how the money comes in, understand the business, the ups and the downs, and then once I have that, that proven income, then come to Ghana and do the same thing. That's what I would have done differently because everybody's situation is different. Our situation was like, we felt like we didn't have that time to do all that. It's like, I'm so stressed, I'm trying to do things that I love, and this environment is not allowing me to. So at that time, we was like, let's just get up out of here.
Yeah.
And I can understand that. Some people are in that position. I can understand it. I'm not telling you not to do it, but just be prepared. It's just not easy.
Yeah. It's interesting, in self-defense, there's a saying that people say, don't run away from danger, but run toward safety.
Okay.
And it looks like the same thing, but it's actually a slight difference. So if somebody's shooting at you, you're running away from whatever the challenge is.
Right.
You may be running a worse position, but if it's with a goal and a focus, like, no, I'm running towards the safety, and then you're able to block yourself. And I kind of extend that towards people who repatriate, because sometimes, for myself, I had challenges in the US. I had trumped up charges on me, arrests in Chicago, all type of stuff. But just like you're saying, in my case, I wanted to make sure I had my online thing set up. So I repatriated 2008, so this is 10 years now. But I had set up the online business back in 2006.
Oh, okay.
So I had everything, laid out. So just what you're saying, I think that was something that, was helpful, and I think that's good advice for anybody who wants to repatriate as well. Have that proven thing. Also, has there been the support system or supportive individuals like you may have expected?
A support system
Here in Ghana?
Well, the support system really been you guys, just the the African American community here. You guys have supported in many ways, and just meeting different people here. We met some, you know, we have like a really close Ghanaian friend. Him and his wife, they've been together for 15 years, like me and my wife. They have 5 kids, like me and my wife, but they're 10 years older than us, and we had so much in common. They showed us all the ropes and took me everywhere. He was, his name is George. He even was with me to negotiate if I want to rent, if I want to do things at the port, who was dealing with some things being shipped. Just different things around the area. He was able to help me with the language and even teach me some of the language as we was going. So we was really blessed on that part to really meet some good people while we was here, getting acclimated to the new environment.
That's beautiful. Like one thing that I see often, and you know, I actually know individuals, I'm not gonna name them,
Right.
but sometimes, you know, they'll come, they'll link with somebody and it's like, oh, this is my best friend. But then later on it turns into kind of seeing the person like an ATM, right?
Yep.
And you know, a lot of people from the diaspora are like, oh, they're doing that to me because I'm from the diaspora. But having talked to Ghanaians and hearing some of the horror stories, it's a brother who, his own sister said, if I'm not chopping your money, whose money am I gonna chop? So he said he's paid enough to build his house 3 times over from his own biological sister, same mother, same father.
That's true.
Both of them, anytime they say each other, they say, same mother, same father.
Wow.
But, you know, just the idea is that, not even a mean thing, but the idea is that if you have more, then you're responsible for sharing with others.
Yeah.
So, you know, somebody who is working at the university, a friend of mine, because he's there, people in his family are like, okay, well, you have resources. So therefore, when it's funeral time, you have a greater share of responsibility. So we'll give you more rights, we'll give you more props, but also with that comes more responsibility. So, and that's something that I think repatriates definitely, you know, would look at. If they see you coming with dollars, you just flew on a plane and whatever, they're like, well, you have more. And there's a expression they say, if your brother is on the mango tree, you should never starve. So it's like, if you're in a better position in order to do that, then it's your responsibility to
So
send
I can
some
imagine
down.
that weight that Ghanaians feel when they do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get in a better position.
Yeah. And it can be very heavy. I had a friend who said he flew into the country, said, don't let my mother know I'm here, because there's a funeral going on in my village. And he said he already had sent, you know, the minimum requirement, but he said if they find out that they're here, they're gonna put him in a palanquin, they're gonna, you know, make him dress up. But then with that comes more responsibility. He gotta pay more. So, you know, that's the thing. Yeah, that's a very good, you know, conversation with that. Also, what successes and or challenges have you faced since you repatriated?
Well, I'll start off with the challenges, you know, being able to sustain ourselves. So we came here with money. In the U.S., you know, I was involved with real estate. We saved up funds. We did the things that we're supposed to do to make that transition.
Real quick, did you have a savings goal that y'all were going before you said, all right, it's time, it's go time?
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I actually saw a video on YouTube with some brothers here in Africa, and they was like, man, you're gonna need about $15,000 to $30,000. And to tell you the truth, that was true. I mean, it may be different for other people, but it depends on your family size. It depends how you want to live. So yeah, we did have a goal to, like, you know, cover ourselves for at least 6 months or so. And so we came here, we sat on those savings, we started making money. Even we had things going on too in the U.S. You know, just little odds and ends, but all that adds up here, and it goes a long way here. And we was focused on our business. So the challenge was that when we was getting ready to run our business, we got robbed. Somebody broke open our window in the middle of the night. And I like to be next to the window. I like to be near nature. I like to work looking outside. So my desk is right there in front of the window. I have a Mac. I have a brand new PC. We have 2 1 terabyte hard drives. I had 2 iPhones. And like everything is on there. The blueprint for our books, everything was on there. So we woke up. I woke up because mosquitoes started buzzing in my ear. I'm like, what's
How
going
did the mosquito get in?
Woke up, the window was wide open. And when I seen that table, I knew it right away. And then my wife woke up and I was like, don't get upset. She's like, what? I said, don't get upset. And she was like, John, where's the laptops? I said, don't get upset. And she was like, where is the laptop? She was about to faint. Oh, man, I'm getting goosebumps right now. But anyways, like somebody took it. And anyways, to make a long story short, we found out that we wasn't the only house that got hit. It was a few other houses. So when we went to the police station, it was somebody else there reporting that their money was taken. It was the same night. So it was a hit that everybody took that night.
Now, was it like a gated community or open, or how? What was the security situation?
A quote unquote gated community. It was just the security was really bad. I mean, every time I go through the security, he would just always wave at me. And I always see cars come in, he would just wave at them. So in my mind, okay, they live here. But no, people was coming in and out as they pleased. The security was not good. It wasn't good at all. And that's what happened to us. So that was the challenge. We had to try to pick ourselves back up, and we had some money. We was like, should we take this and go back to the US, or should we keep this and stay? And my mother, she was like, John, we didn't come here for nothing. I'm like, it's only been 6 months. I mean, I'm just getting started. And so we decided to stay. And we started another business, you know, selling health and wellness products, and it was doing very well. But it had its ups and downs. And it wasn't producing enough after a while, so we were still thinking about going back, but then we ran out of money. You hear what I'm saying? So it was like, we have to go. So my wife flew back to the States. She actually flew back a few times just to get the money keep coming in and raising up money so that we can initially go back to the States. But what happened was...
Did y'all have like investments or businesses that were generating on that side?
No. You know what I mean? We just had to just keep on, like, go back, you get a job, keep working, bring something back in. You know what I mean? We had a house ourselves, me and my wife, but we ended up just getting rid of that house, selling all of our things. So we had capital there, and we moved in with my mother. So we was in a savings position, you know, the survivor mode. And while she went back, and then she was bringing in something. But until this year, really February 2018, when one of our YouTube videos went viral, it's like the floodgates just opened, and we saw the opportunity how to sustain ourselves. So from there, we've been riding on that.
Okay. It's a challenging story, but you know, it sounds like it's coming to a happy ending.
I know, happy ending.
Right.
Yeah, it's been a blessing.
And that's one thing is that, you know, very few people have 9-to-5 jobs. So some are going to come up trying to do it the legal way, the honest way, but then others are just trying to do that, trying to come up at night, take somebody else's thing. So
exactly. And some people might say, how come you didn't get a job here? It's not that easy getting a job here. I mean, we don't have degrees. We're just like entrepreneurs, just running after our passion. Right now, my wife is in school. It's always been her dream to pursue one, but it was just challenging to get paid the way we need to get paid, you know, because we're not gonna compromise our lifestyle, because safety is a big thing to me, and protecting my kids and living in a comfortable environment, because when you're comfortable, then you can think, you can be creative, you can sustain yourself. But if you're in a position that, it may be cheaper, but then you're not comfortable, it kind of defeats the purpose.
For sure. What future do you see for your children, and what steps have you taken to bring that future into reality?
I see a future for my kids. I want them to be entrepreneurs. I want them to be self-starters. I want them to, you know, have great social skills, know how to adapt to different cultures. I want them to just be, you know, motivated and passionate about life, and to follow what they love. And whatever they love, I want them to learn everything about it and be a master. And being here, it opened them up to a new culture, a new environment, and they have grown so quickly. Even in the simple things like doing chores around the house. We have a nanny that helps us out with the house, and the nanny taught my kids how to clean properly. Like, I never seen them do that before, but they learn how to conserve water, they know how to clean real quickly, they know how to, I give them a little allowance, I see them putting their money aside. So we just teach them just life skills, you know, and you know, they're doing some work online. It's a very popular website called educational.com, where you can learn just the little basics, you know, and they do those things. And of course, they come to your school as well. They learn the tree, learn the local language. And so all that is really just allowing them to be their best. And I think it is, I see the change, how they are now versus being in the United States. And it's a positive thing.
Now, just a follow-up on that in terms of your vision for them, what made it important for you to bring them here to Abibitumi to learn the language? What's the idea?
because we understood that we're going to be in Ghana for the long term, and communication is everything.
Right.
I don't care what country you're in, you have to know how to communicate, you have to understand the customs, you have to adapt for you to be successful. So that was the main reason.
Right.
And also I love the environment. You know, you have the Ghanaian kids here, you have the African American kids here, and that really helped them to just
UK kids here,
you have
Caribbean.
UK kids, okay,
yeah.
They're you know, playing with each other and they're just having fun like they're like regular kids, you know. I don't want them to be too, you know, depart from society, you know. I want them to be part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's one thing just in terms of the environment, having children who are born and raised in Ghana, some who are born and raised in UK, some born and raised in the US, that is really Pan-African in practice, right? Because sometimes we'll sit off in the corner and say Pan-African, but then it's just, you know, me and my, you know, comfort zone, as opposed to, all right, let's learn about other people, let's learn about, you know, what's going on. Because just in the sharing, there's a reason why continental Africans have a particular view of Africans in the diaspora.
Right.
Oh, they are drug dealers and they popping crystal and whatever.
Thanks to media.
Thanks to media, right? Anti-African media. And then on that side, a lot of, you know, folks in the diaspora have the view of continental Africans that, okay, they're all corrupt and they're all this and they're all that, you know.
It's true.
So at the end of the day, we never just sit down and say, all right, let's just talk, you know.
Get to know each other.
And get to know each other, exactly. Yeah.
That's true.
And you kind of mentioned this. Have you or your wife gone back to the U.S. since your initial repatriation, and why? You kind of touched on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, number one, money, because we just didn't know how to make it here, you know. And I know a lot of people like, man, we have to learn how to make money here. We shouldn't have to go back and forth. That's true, but the fact of the matter is a lot of us do go back for those reasons. So it was money, and also we was really planning to go back. So a couple of times my wife went back to prepare for us because we didn't have nothing there for us, waiting for us. The first time we came in 2013, we had a house there. All right, my mom had a house, I had a house. I sold my house. She was trying to sell her house, but it didn't sell, so thank goodness she didn't, because it was waiting for us when we had to go back in 2013. So we was only in Ghana for 6 months. 3 years later, we came back in 2016, back to Ghana, and we've been here ever since. So from that point, 2016 till now, my wife has went back a total of 4 times. 4 times, and she just recently came back last week. And she was like, John, if I come back, it just have to make sense. I agree. You know, and when this started popping off, you know, when people was really supporting us on GoFundMe, it was like, everybody was like, stay in Ghana, stay in Ghana. I'm like, why, y'all? It's okay. I mean, everybody, other people go back and forth, how come we can't? But it was like, trust me, stay in Ghana. And it did make sense because we only asked for a little bit of money. You know, $10,000 is not a lot of money for a family of 7. But I knew that would just get us over, and I have to do more when I get there. But when I start seeing the YouTube growing, that opportunity in media was growing, it did make more sense to stay here, you know? And it's not that we wanted to leave, it's just that it was just so tough that we had to. But then we found a means to support ourselves, and we just stuck with the wave, you know? I didn't want to interrupt that. Like, you know, we might as well stay here, ride it out, and see what happens. So far, everything's been pretty good.
Beautiful, beautiful. Also, another follow-up question on that. Have you, and this was also touched on a bit, been able to sustain yourself and family financially? You know, I think you mentioned coming to that point now.
Right.
But then related to that, what tips would you offer to future repatriates in terms of the financial side of things?
Get something going, even if you have to partner up with somebody. So you might have 2 people that say, hey, let's do this together. Have some sort of plan where you have something coming in, and just create something now, don't wait. If you do it now, time flies, it really does fly. I'm been in Ghana for 2 years already, time really flies. So start something now to bring in income. It may be online, it may not be online, and most definitely also network with people already here. And that's what we did too. It's like when we was in the US, we would speak with someone for like 3 months on Facebook, and they was telling us different things about the culture and what to be prepared for. So you want to get that going, because money, I think, is number one. I think it's number one. Then number 2, come here with a good attitude. You know, don't come here uppity and, you know, being kind of cocky. Come here with a good attitude, be humble, and be willing to learn. and adapt. I think adapt to the local lifestyle as much as possible to save that money. Even when it comes to the food, that's what we learned too. It's like keep it simple because you want to save that money.
Eating out at restaurants every day ain't gonna
Yeah,
cut
I mean,
it.
yeah, treat yourself. I'll treat myself sometimes.
Every so often,
but be responsible, man, please, because the main goal is for you to come here and stay here. Like he was telling me, like it's to stay here. So do what you have to do to keep yourself on the up and up until you start generating the income that you want, and then you could go ahead and splurge. But get something working, come here and just play it safe, so to speak. Observe your area, get to know people, and pray. Pray, yeah.
You know, that's one of the ideas behind repatriateToGhana.com. It's a term, prepatriation, right?
Okay.
That's, you know, before you repatriate, what are the steps that you need to
get
take?
prepared. Awesome.
So, you know, just the idea of, you know, as African people, we should be able to do that because, you know, the people who are saying, yo, stay in Ghana, because I've seen that quite a few times. People come, but then they have to go. And what that ends up doing, look at every single ticket, that's how much, $2,000, $3,000, depending on when you go. And what we end up doing is enriching these exact same folks who are going to take that money to build prisons. The exact same folks are going to take that money and buy the bullets that shoot us down the street. Then be like, oh, you know, how did that happen? It's like, didn't we kind of finance that? So even when we have, you know, our heart in the right place, we want to repatriate, we want to do things of that nature, that, you know, not having a plan can end up, you know, instead of enriching ourselves, we end up enriching somebody else, going back and forth and those types of things as one. But then in addition to that, just this idea of we should be able to do for ourselves, because right now the platforms that are out there to interact or do whatever, you know, the Facebook is there, the YouTube is there. But I think about it in terms of Marcus Garvey. He said, he looked around and he said, where are men of big affairs? You know, where's our nation, where's our flag? He said, I didn't see them, so I created them. And what we tend to do, we get comfortable being on white platforms. And, you know, Marcus Garvey had the Negro World newspaper. He could have done the same thing as what people are doing now, just say, well, just use the New York Times. That's what's there, everybody's reading it, let's just use the New York Times. He said, no, we need to create our own thing. So that's again the idea of repatriateToGhana.com. We need to have our own platforms.
Awesome.
So that you don't go to Facebook jail and then the thing that you were dependent on to communicate to other Africans, or YouTube jail and the thing that you were dependent on for your income. On a whim, these white folks say, you're getting too successful, we're gonna shut you down.
Exactly, it's true.
Yeah. And you've mentioned this as well, learning an indigenous African language, important for you and your children. Personally on that level?
Not as much as I want. You know, it is a challenge when you're in survivor mode. You know, you got so many things going on. It's like I want to do a lot of things, but just haven't successfully done it, like the language and even the capoeira. You know, ever since I was a young boy, I always wanted to know how to do, you know, learn fighting techniques. That's one thing I still want to do.
You were doing well when you came.
Yeah.
You just got to get you sustained.
I got in survival mode. I was like, okay, I got this product to sell every Saturday morning, just getting hustle mode. But yeah, I'm planning to learn more. It's important because one brother told me, he was like, you know, don't rely on renting too much. Go ahead and get some land, you know, get stable and learn the language. You know, I'm like, you're right. You're right. It's totally true. Even if you don't build on the land, get the land, 'cause at least I can help you get residency because, you know, all these visitor visas stuff, you want to try to bypass all that. So we learn all those things along the way, but I am coming along to learn small. I want to learn more.
And that's one thing just in terms of being stable, that here, I found this is a major difference with here in the US, is that here if you own something, you actually own it. So your house, you actually own it there. It's eminent domain. It's, you know, we can take this from you, foreclosing that whole housing bubble burst, you know, subprime loans, all this stuff, that no matter what you have, at the end of the day, you still got to be paying property taxes or municipal taxes or condo taxes, association, whatever. But here, if somebody buys a car, it's usually outright, it's cash and carry. So, you know, there it tends to be a debt system to keep you locked in. Here, if you own land, you can actually own the land outright, and then they have some leasing systems as well, but you can actually get freehold land where you own it outright. You can actually build your house and it's your house. that's it.
That's it.
You understand?
That's what I like about Ghana, and I'm pretty sure it's like that in different parts of the continent. I haven't looked into it, but I like that because they're really big on you own your own. And that's why sometimes when you travel around here, you see a lot of unfinished buildings because people are taking their time to build it up little by little, and then it's done, it's over. But we have a culture in the U.S. where you finance it. You got everything you want right away, but then there's debt on you. And I don't like that. I like, it's like we mimic nature here. Okay. It's like we mimic nature here.
You'll take that from the edit.
It's like we mimic nature here. It's like we plant the seed and we take our time to grow. And I'm starting to appreciate that because when I first came here, I just wanted things to go so fast. But I learned the value in staying put and building on something and putting your focus on one thing and allow it to grow, So it's been working out so far.
Absolutely, cool. How would you say overall you've been received in the community by Ghanaians, and have there been any challenges with integrating into the larger community?
Actually, no challenges at all, because we came showing respect. Just going back to that, we came here showing respect. We came here with the mindset of wanting to learn. We came here asking questions. We allow different people in the community to show us things, because when you come here, they want to show you, they want to help you. So if you allow them to help you, it shows a lot about your character, that you're willing to integrate and learn how to live and do different things. So it's been really good on that part. The only challenges is the thievery. They call it petty theft, but when your valuables get taken away, I'm not gonna call it petty.
It don't sound so petty.
Right.
It don't feel that way.
But we learn from people who live here how to safeguard your things. So we took that into account, and just it's a lesson learned. But other than that, here Ghanaians are really cool, laid back. It's really like family on the real. It's really like family. We do have a lot in common, but you just have to just watch your back. Make sure you just cover yourself. You don't fully trust people. You shouldn't trust nobody like that, but just be a friend, be kind, and be willing to learn. And protect yourself. And it's like that wherever you go.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one thing that I found being in Ghana. Like back in the States, I actually taught survival training. I went through a 4-level program, Outdoor Leadership Skills Project, Black Survival Network, where we actually went into survival skills. And the idea is just having a mindset of do for self. Now being here is where it's real, right? Because there you can say it, but at the end of the day, you can go to, Whole Foods and get all your food. You can go to, whatever. You can just actually end up depending on somebody else for your whole life, for everything. But here, like right now, we're on solar, right?
Okay.
So just the idea of you can't depend on the municipal, whatever, electricity to come, so you have to do for self.
Exactly.
In terms of, your food. So we actually were growing on our land up at both Obosomase and Mampong. We have land at both places. So
awesome.
The maize crop has just come up at Mampong. When we go up to Obosomase, that's where we get, some of the plantain.
And it takes care of itself, or you have somebody there?
We have somebody there in both places.
Awesome.
Right. Somebody to take care of the land until we move up there.
Exactly.
It's always important to have somebody. So there's somebody I give him for the Mampong land. He's growing on it. Just give him a little bit every month. Actually, it's not so little, but it grows up. But, and then have him protect the land as well.
Right. I actually like that system, because I heard that people actually build the walls, or they have somebody just plant on it. I like the planting on the land.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, because when somebody sees there's somebody growing on the land, they can't resell the land again, and that's something that happens. Because somebody who comes, they'll be like, okay, well, who's growing on it? You understand?
Gotcha.
So these are just some of the little things that you learn, over the years of how to protect yourself. There's another situation at the land at Obosomase, and we had the neighbor, growing on that land. So, we were able to, and we put up walls at all the corners, so everything is marked.
So you have that.
Because we didn't have enough for the entire wall going around like this. So we said what we'll do is mark off all the corners.
Gotcha.
So then it came up of somebody saying, oh, the land, there's an issue with the boundary, we need to come and, no. Because we already have that set up, we have somebody farming there. We're able to squash all of that.
Okay, that's smart. Cool.
Absolutely. Did you experience any culture shock?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you know, I don't want to. Like for example, you'll see somebody pee on the side of the road. You know what I mean? It's like, okay,
That's not something
you're peeing in front of the whole bunch of traffic's coming by, and you're right there peeing. You know, so looking at things like that, or you know, I can't. It's hard to explain.
Yeah. Things you're not used to seeing.
Just trying to think about it. Well, you know what? It's not a shock, but I could say culture change.
Yeah.
Where they really love children. So I'm so used to like taking care of my kids, doing things myself. Like for an example, we was in the Trotro, and my kids was getting out, and you got these guys grabbing my kids, and my mind's like, yo, what you doing? But they really cater towards the kids here. Like kids are like, they got the sweet spot here, you know, and I love that. It's very family oriented here. So they grabbing my kids, make sure they got their book bags and holding them. Okay, come on. I'm like, wow, I'm not used to that. You know, brothers coming out doing that. So that was a culture learning point right there.
And we had one
probably
time.
could discuss some more.
Yeah, one time we were at Kokorobite, and there was a whole group that was walking, a brother, a couple sisters, and the brother grabbed up Amma, and the woman was like, oh, well, you know, that's somebody's child. You don't know whose child that is. So Kala, she took it like, this guy's trying to kidnap my child. And of course, she didn't understand what they were saying. They were speaking in Tree. And I was taking it like, okay, you're going to put my daughter down. But, you know, but that's another thing of the culture shock. If you're coming from a U.S. type of situation, you see somebody do something like that, it's like, oh, it's a kidnapping. It's, you know, I got to go. And, you know, here, that's exactly just what you're saying. Somebody's like, oh, you know, let me grab your bag. Let me take your daughter off the turtle for you, things of that nature. So, you know, it's getting more and more Europeanized, Eurasianized here, but there's still that same core. You find like in the south of the U.S. more than in the north.
That's true.
Where people care about children.
And it is important.
Like that.
You know, even they, like you said, they want to help you with your bag and stuff like that. So that's another culture shock, just people coming at you and just always want to do for you. Yeah, they want something in return most of the time, but in the U.S., you're so used to doing things yourself.
Right.
So you got to get used to that. You know how to say yes if you want to say yes, and know how to say no. You know.
Absolutely. How many times had you been to Ghana before you decided to repatriate?
Yeah, so that's one of the key things about our stories. People are always shocked how we just came here.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we didn't have the funds to visit. You know, that was my best friend growing up. His father's Ghanaian, so I grew up with a Ghanaian father because you know we were so close. And he helped me and my friend out with many different things, but he was telling me that you go and visit, keep your family behind.
Right.
And my wife wasn't trying to hear that. She was like, no, we all going.
That's a scam.
It's like, I want to go too. And also, you know, just looking at the money, it's like, man, you keep on looking at like, okay, I'm using this money to go here and to come back. Why not just use that money and add on and we all just go? So we was brave enough to make that move. And we did feel confident because, you know, we've been communicating with some people for a few months with the African American Association of Ghana. That was in 2013. And then also, my friend's family was in Kumasi, so we knew some people, and he have my friend's father has a sister in Accra. So I was able to, you know, have some connections, and it felt comfortable. We wouldn't have made that move if we didn't feel comfortable. So we felt comfortable just going there. We had a place waiting for us, so we moved right in, and it was fine. Everything was good, and we met you guys and different people. So I think that's what made it easier, knowing that there was other repats here, and we just started connecting with them immediately. So we just came here to see what would happen. It only lasted 6 months, but I'm grateful that we did that much.
Absolutely. Okay. And also, what advice would you offer to others who may be interested in maybe testing the waters before they repatriate?
Yeah. Number one, get the money right. You have to have a plan on how you're gonna get your income. You know, if you have a degree or a profession, most definitely come here and network and see if you can get a job. It depends on what you want to do. You gotta look at what you want to do and what's realistic. Like some people say, hey, I want to come here and farm and live off the land. I heard that a lot, and I'm not putting that down. But for example, I have a video with Bubba, and he has some stories on how to live that way. He really lives in the boonies, in the bush, and it's not easy. Especially when it comes to transportation, you're that far. And when you first get here, you're gonna need those basic needs. You're gonna need to do certain things. Like if you have a lot of money, then fine, go ahead and try it out, you're good. But if you're limited, you just can't come here and live off the land, you know? I think earlier we was talking about malaria, different sicknesses, you gotta be careful of those things. Also, you're just jumping into a community, people don't know you, and they're looking at you. So you want to come here slowly and introduce yourself to the community slowly and get to know people and kind of like be welcomed in. I think that's the best way to go. Take your time, most definitely.
There's a proverb in Chi that says, that translates to a person doesn't test the depth of the water with both feet. You hop in, then you be like, oh, you know, so you maybe do that. And I think that's basically, you know, in short, kind of the advice that, you know, you may want to be a little bit closer to the city as you're getting your residence permit and all those types of things.
Exactly.
Then later, you know, you can branch out, kind of stretch out a little bit more.
Yep, it'll happen naturally too. Most definitely start like that. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you're going to fail, you know.
And there's that expression, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail.
Yep.
Right? Absolutely. What was the reaction of your family, or rather extended family maybe, when you all made the decision to move to Ghana?
Yeah, it wasn't good. They thought it was going to be a trip and then come back. When we started talking about staying in 2013, they was like, what? You're going to get residency? You're going to stay? Why? Like, I think my siblings was more concerned about my mother. You know, my mother, she's in her 60s, and you know, and the whole idea of having mom nearby and mom being around the grandchildren, because my mother has 15 grandchildren.
Wow.
And 5 of them, you know.
Yeah, y'all put in your work.
Exactly. So, you know, my other siblings is like, Mom, you way over there. So they didn't take it too well, but at the end of the day, they are happy that she's happy, and they seen that my mother found a place that she's comfortable in and she likes it here. And of course, her money stretches here, so versus being in the U.S. So I think they adapt to it, and I think they have plans of coming here to visit. So which is a good thing, because I feel like we just can't think like the U.S. is it, or whatever country we are.
The whole world, right?
You know what I mean? Like, think like a king and a queen, like expand, you know? Yes, U.S. is home, you could go there, but also come out here and take advantage of some uncharted territory, you know? And it feels good to know I have a home here, and if I go back, I got a home there, and I know people in both countries. And then you start traveling the world, because my wife and I, our goal is to travel the world. And just have that international connection. And for us, that's living.
Absolutely.
So, but other than that, the siblings, they are adapting to the idea, but at first, they wasn't agreeing. It was tough for them,
There's a proverb in Chi again, it says, "Achini achini sen, anyini anyini," and it translates to one who travels around is greater than one who just gets old while staying in one place.
It's true.
And a related proverb, that if you're just seated in one place, then you're just sitting on your own thing, and that you never get a chance to see somebody else's thing.
That's true.
You know, and then the idea of one who's never traveled thinks that her mother cooks soup the best. Right? And that's basically what a lot of folks in the U.S. think. They think the U.S. is the best thing ever.
That's true.
Or, you know, even if they don't, they're like, well, it's better than everywhere else. But these are the people who've never traveled anywhere else.
That's
you
true.
know, and you can really get that type of tunnel vision unless you actually travel and see the world. And you say, wow, there's more foods out here than what I'm used to. There's more languages out here than what I've grown up with.
There you go.
Because, you know, other people in the world, they kind of lampoon the U.S. and laugh. They say, what do you call somebody who speaks 2 languages? Bilingual. What do you call somebody who speaks 3 languages? Trilingual. What do you call somebody who speaks 1 language? American. It's like, yeah, these people are...
I feel guilty too. Yeah, you're right, man.
Right, but just the idea that everybody else in the world is like, yeah, we can be all over, whereas people in the U.S. are like, okay, I may take a day trip to Dubai and then I'll come back, and then that's it. Whew, I'm back.
Nah, I want to learn new languages. Even my kids, you know, I want them to learn new languages because it just really adds to you, you know, builds your character and it broadens your mind.
Absolutely.
You know, awesome.
And then, have you traveled to other countries in Africa? And if so, how does Ghana compare?
No, didn't travel to any countries in Africa. I had a connecting flight in Nigeria and Morocco. Stayed there for 24 hours. But other than that, no, Ghana's the only place that we came to. And the reason for that is, you know, we did research. We saw that it was a big expat community here. And also my friend, his family has family here. And Ghana's called the gateway of Africa. So we were like, okay, let's try that out. And I'm glad we did that because we was looking at South Africa. You know, South Africa, it could resemble America in a way. So we was like, okay, that'll probably help us adapt to Africa better, but I'm glad we didn't do that because it's too many issues in South Africa. I'm not trying to do a American repeat, you know? So Yeah, it's only Ghana.
Okay. But you plan on moving or traveling to other places, seeing other places, seeing the world?
Most definitely. The goal was make Ghana our new home and then see the world.
Right. So that's
That
kind
was
of
the goal.
It's like the launching pad to other things.
Exactly.
All right. So we've definitely had a stimulating conversation. Any last words for our viewing audience?
Go ahead and check out the website, Obadele's website, and I know you're gonna have some.
RepatriateToGhana.com.
Exactly,
Right.
and check that out because I know you're a very wise brother. You have a lot of information. You've been here for a while, and we need that wisdom in an organized fashion. So I'm glad that you launched that site. And also go ahead and check out our website, nativeborne.com. That's born with the E at the end. And you can check us out. We're actually into tourism right now. A lot of people have been emailing us about visiting Ghana. So we want to take that on and help people get acclimated to the area. And most definitely want to connect them to your website as well. So check us out on that website and on YouTube, Native Borne Family.
All right, so check us out. Like you said, we're trying to do, not even trying to, we have shown that there are models of success for people who are interested in repatriating. There are models of success, and there are others who you can reach out to. So rather than, enriching the plane company because you come and go and the banks and everybody else, just invest in yourself, invest in your future, your children and generations to come. You don't have to be sitting somewhere saying the police are shooting us up or how come they found us in the store or whatever. There are other places in the world where that's not even a concern. So, see the rest of the world and experience it and repatriate to Ghana, Native Borne. We're here for you. That's what we're here for. We appreciate it.
All right, brother. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. All right. That was cool. That was thorough.
Yeah, man. I'm learning the process. I was like, it's going to be 15, 20 minutes.
All right.
No, yeah, conversation going on.
Yeah,
it's
it's
good.
a conversation.
Is this okay? Yeah. I should check. Okay, I'll move it. Yeah, man, I'm glad because we need a system. I desire for people to come over here and not have to go through the things that we're going through.
Just real quick. So I'm going to keep mine running too for when you do this. I got 256 gigs, so
I hear you.
I'll take it over in the editing.
Got you.
Kamade Samara. How you doing? Blacktastic?
Hey, what's up,
Blacknificent?
Maury? Long time, brother.
Blackorific? Blacknificent? Yeah.
Appreciate it.
We should learn from each other's wisdom, experience. Definitely.
So I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. You want me to?
Either way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey y'all, what's up, what's up? We have a special video here today. I have a brother here who needs no introduction. Awesome brother. So I'm gonna go ahead and let him introduce himself. What's up, brother? How you doing, Obadele?
Everything's blacktastic, blacknificent, blackorific, and spectacular here on the correct side of the ocean in Ghana. As he mentioned, my name is Dr. Abibitumi Kambon. I'm head of section at the Language, Literature, and Drama section of African Studies. Also a research fellow, about to be senior research fellow there, got up for the promotion. There we go.
Awesome.
And then also I was installed at Ekwapim Mampong as the Bamuchidomhene, which is a traditional ruler. So, with that comes a lot of responsibility. And I'm a repatriate, husband to Kala Kambon, father to Ama Kwekuna Kosia Kambon. So that's just in a nutshell, just a little bit about myself.
Okay, awesome. So let me ask you a question. When did you come to Ghana? And first of all, where are you and your family from? And when did you guys come to Ghana?
Okay. So we're from all of Africa.
All right.
However, we were born not here, but I was born in Brooklyn, New York, like my father. My mother was born in Harlem, New York.
Right.
And when you say Brooklyn, that's just another way of saying Caribbean. When you say Harlem, that's another way of saying the South. And it's
Right.
kind of like when people had the migration, both from the Caribbean, a lot of folks headed to Brooklyn out of the Caribbean. When folks had the migration out of the South after, enslavement, a lot of folks just went to Harlem. So for me, it's kind of just a Pan-African background in and of itself.
Right.
So yeah, I was born there, but I was actually raised in North Carolina,
Okay.
which is where my mother's side of the family moved up from. So we grew up just one county away from the same place where my mother's side of the family had been enslaved, Johnston County.
Whoa.
So a lot of family there. And my great-grandmother had 14 brothers and sisters. So we had a lot of great aunts and great uncles and cousins and everybody around. So, but my parents, they realized that this is 1979, I was born. They saw Ronald Reagan coming in. They saw the drugs starting to come in. So Brooklyn, at one point in time, you could walk into somebody's house and it was, really community. But he said, this is really changing, the drug culture, all the things that you hear about now in reflection. But they saw it on the way in, so they said, you know what? We need to do for self. We're talking about African, we're talking about self-sufficiency. So they went and bought their own land, built a log cabin, out in the woods themselves by hand, chainsaws and all that, laying the logs, dug their own water source, grew their own food. Never had a furnace. We always had a pot-belly stove to heat, in the winter. But that's something that I think is really unique about my family. You have people who give lectures all their life, and their children are like, you saying, let's be African, let's do for self. But then you in the suburbs chilling with whatever in Walmart. But for me, one reason that I really have a lot of respect for my parents is that I could say that with sincerity, they were actually trying to live out some of the ideals that they said that they were about. So,
Right.
yeah, North Carolina, went to school in Atlanta, school in Wisconsin, taught in Chicago. Then I repatriated here in 2008. After I had first come in 1998, my mother brought me here in 98 for the Sankofa journey. And that's really, for a lot of people, a gateway. So a lot of people who I know who I've encouraged to repatriate, they took the Sankofa journey, and it really changed my life. You see where I am now. You see I got the Sankofa right here, bam. But yeah, this is really, my mother exposing me to something more than just the U.S.
Right.
And she came here first in 1972 with now passed away Nana Dinizulu. And reconnecting with who we are as African people and what that is to be African.
Wow. Excellent. And, you're a young brother, and we don't see a lot of young brothers here from the diaspora that's raising their children. So what's the significance in that, and how does that make you feel being amongst the few of us here, trying to build a family here in Africa?
Yeah, for me, a lot of my repatriation story is centered around wanting my children to have a different type of experience from just what they would get in the U.S.
Right.
A feeling of freedom. So we hear about Tamir Rice, a little boy who was playing with a toy gun and got shot. You understand?
Exactly.
Trayvon Martin, we hear these stories. And I was sitting at a bridge holding my son in my arms, and it just dawned, it was at night, and just the breeze and everybody was chilling, and it just dawned on me, I don't have to worry about him getting shot because he's black.
It's true.
Or rather because they're white. That's the real reason. And that's something that you can't pay for, I had a friend who we went to undergrad together, and he repatriated. He was here for about 5 years before he went back. But he said that it's funny the way he phrased it. He said, this is how it must feel to be white in America. To just be moving around and not worried about somebody going to stop you because you're black, or people going to follow you in the store. Because he's at some point, he wasn't even thinking about stuff like that.
Exactly.
Or you're driving and the police are behind you and your heart doesn't skip a beat. Because it's just they're going wherever they're going. They're not trying to harass you and go on a fishing trip or plant stuff on you, this type of thing. So, that's what I want for my children. The motto of Ghana is freedom and justice.
There you go.
So people ask me to say, why are you here? I say, I knew that in the U.S. we never have freedom or justice. So to be here, this is where you actually can have that type of freedom, where you're moving and not, worried about, on a whim, a white boy is going to throw you in prison.
That's true.
On a whim, a white girl is going to shoot you, you know, because they got a badge or, you know, whatever the case may be. So that's a lot of why, you know, as a repatriate. And then once we understand that we're African, you know, it moves us beyond just, okay, let me be around other people out of the U.S. or whatever. Because, you know, my daughter, she's 10, you know, my son is 5, my youngest is 3. But just to get to the point of, you know what, my daughter already speaks Chi and writes Chi and reads Chi and has her website and her assignments in Chi.
Okay.
She also does that for Yoruba, you know, reads, writes, speaks, does stories, storytelling, all type of stuff in Yoruba. We're working on Wolof, Medunecha. She, of course, has the English. That's, you know, off the bat. But it's just exposing them to different things, you understand, so that they can have more options and more opportunities than they would, you know, in the U.S., being a second-class citizen.
Right, right. It's true, it's true. So I see that you have a school here. Can you tell us a little bit about your school? It's a very interesting name. Can you tell us the meaning of the name and also what's the vision for the school for the future?
Right. So you see here this big Abibitumi. Now this is for Capoeira. We have the other one for Adesiambia, that's the school. And another one for Abibitumi Casa. And Abibitumi translates to African liberation. And the other one has Adesiambia, that's the school.
Okay.
So when we're talking about African Liberation School, this is what we are all about. You know, we're living in a time of chaos, a time where everything is upside down. You know, those who cheat and are corrupt and are lying and all these types of things, they're the ones who are running the world. So for us as African people to ever have actual African liberation, it's about restoring ma'at, truth, justice, righteousness, harmony, order, balance, reciprocity, propriety, all these ideas of what it is to be right and live right and do right and speak right. So for my children, this is what we're all about. And you know, when people saw some of the videos we had online, they saw Amma, she was doing teaching vegan food preparation in Chi. Then she would subtitle it herself in English. Then she would do English and subtitle it herself in Chi. And people were like, you know what? I'd like this for our children. And we said, yeah, that's exactly what we need to do, because let's say our children are so far ahead, but then they got to interact with other people whose children are going to be hitting them upside the head, robbing them, because they don't have that type of background. They don't have that type of, you know, situation. So just the idea was we have to extend what we're doing beyond just us. You know, we're not in a bubble. We can't be in a vacuum and have our children getting it where other people's children don't get it. So once we're able to extend it, just this morning we had the capoeira, the children who are right next door. We had like 5 or 6 of them running up in, you know, doing the exercises, doing the capoeira, doing the movement. And, you know, that's really what it's all about, is extending beyond just our own selfish interests. It needs to show up in how we behave and how we act in that outreach type of situation.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, all right, let me press pause here.
No problem.
All right. So you've been doing some great things in the community. I mean, you have a lot of accomplishments, and I want you to please literally just go down a list of the things that you've done here. Starting off with the University of Ghana.
Okay.
I'm really proud of you on that one.
Appreciate it. So I decided to do my PhD. That was part of my plan before I came. I said I'm going to come here, enroll in the PhD program.
Oh, really?
And actually succeed at it, and that's what I did. So I had gotten 2 master's degrees in the U.S., of course, bachelor's. So I went to Morehouse for undergrad. Then I got a master's in African languages and literature, and another master's in linguistics. That's both out of University of Wisconsin-Madison. And initially I was planning on doing my PhD there in African languages and literature, but I had my supervisor who interviewed me and said, yeah, I'm the best thing, whatever. She ended up blocking me from getting my committee together, because she had a sense that I didn't like white folks. I don't know where she got that from. But and she was married to one, by the way, so that's, you know, and I found that out from a mutual colleague who told him that, you know, just in a off the record setting, but he said, yeah, that's what went on. That's why she blocked you from getting your committee together. So I ended up going to Chicago. I taught at Chicago State, taught at Malcolm X College, Betty Shabazz International Charter School, New Concept, Charles Hamilton Houston, Winnie Mandela. I was at all these places, but you know, I decided to come here, did my PhD, And lo and behold, I got the Vice Chancellor's Award for the best PhD thesis in that year.
Wow.
And that's the first time that an African from the diaspora has, of course, gotten that particular award, because there's only one per year in the humanities.
Wow. Awesome.
So that was one. And then I ended up deciding to stay on and teaching at Institute of African Studies in the Language, Literature, and Drama section. And now I'm the head of that section in African Studies. That's also, to my knowledge, the first time an African from the diaspora has held, that type of position there.
Wow, awesome.
And then 2016, I won the Provost Award for the best publication in the humanities. And that was on an article about language learning, motivation and language learning. And I came out basically with a new theory that is that we can look at language learning as acquisition, and that's how it's usually done, acquiring another language. And when you do it like that, you're basically dealing with things like, how do you get more possessions? I said, that's just an analogy. Why are we locked into the box of seeing it like a possession to be, taken or gotten or whatever?
I see.
We can look at it like a journey. So I was saying, let's look at it as migration. What's pulling you to learn the language? What's pushing you away from it? What's pulling you towards your own first language or pushing you away from it? And all those factors in migrating away from one place to another.
Right.
It's just another analogy. And from that, we can see things in an entirely different way, just in terms of where are you in that journey towards this language that you're, learning. And then other things, other accomplishments. We had a panel, an academic panel, where it was entirely in Chi, where the questions and answers were in Chi, where, this is something that hadn't been done before. Also, I was one of the ones who advocated for the very first PhD thesis to be defended in Chi. They were saying, okay, you may be able to write it, but you have to defend it in English. And it came up at the same time we were arguing for the panel in Chi that no, it should also be defended. That was my former supervisor who said, if we're gonna let the panel go through in Chi, then we should also let her defend her thesis in Chi. So these are all types of things that we're doing at the university. I also have the Black History Month Film Festival that I coordinate there, the weekly film series that I coordinate there, a Medu Neter study group where people can learn what they call ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, what was originally called Medu Neter.
Cool.
So yeah, just trying to do my part because we're living here, and at the end of the day, we have to live as though we're answerable only to our ancestors and our descendants. So, some people may have issues, but it's like, no, we need to pave that path for those who are yet to come.
Right. And I love how you came here and you got involved, bringing solutions to the community. So I love that.
And then also capoeira. So we had capoeira classes at the university for some years. We're now doing them at the Lion House, but that was another thing, another initiative, because everybody knows about Taekwondo and Kung Fu and Karate and so forth and so on, but they have no idea that we have our own combat sciences.
Right.
And, that's one of my hobbies, is to beat up people who do all these Eurasian sciences and martial arts and whatever, and let them know, no, there's levels to this thing.
Yeah.
And that the African one is effective and even more effective than some of these folks. Had a guy came up, I'm a second-degree black belt, ha ha ha, karate, ha ha ha. Well, ended up kicking him to the jaw. He wasn't talking so much, but people try to, they had the song Brand Nubian Punks, jump up to get beat down. You think all this white stuff and Eurasian stuff you're doing is so great, but we just have to know that what we have, is serious. You understand? That's what we're doing.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually love that class, brother, because it's serious.
You were doing good. I remember we're doing the knife disarms and other stuff, so yeah.
Yeah. We got to get some footage, y'all, on his class, because the brother know how to teach. You was taught by someone from Brazil, right?
Yeah, I actually went to Brazil, studied for a month, but the main teacher that I had was called Valental. Okay. He was a former Marine, but he was in Chicago. And one thing that you find is that in the U.S., the way a lot of people approach capoeira is like either as a game or as a ritual or as Afro-Brazilian cultural acrobatics or aerobics, let's just get in shape or whatever. But when you read the history, this is what people were using to defend themselves in war. They had the Triple Alliance War, and they defeated their enemies, trench warfare, all this type of stuff.
Right.
But if you see people do capoeira now, it could never accomplish what was being done at that point in time because they had to water it down to get it legalized again. So now a lot of people think the watered down thing is traditional. People who do capoeira Angola or capoeira regional, that you actually have interviews of like Mestre Pastinha where he was saying, all right, we're going to take the grappling out in order to make it more genteel and more acceptable. You know, so it's like that can't be traditional, but you have people who they're coming to it with the grappling already removed and they're like, oh, this is how it's always been, you understand? But it was a lot of the social situation in Brazil, so what we're doing is actually trying to restore it to the objectives of those who did it before. They were trying to defend themselves. They were trying to defend their family. They were trying to defend their race. They were trying to, you know. So if that's your objective, then that's going to give you a vastly different solution from, all right, I'm just trying to do what people in Brazil are doing. Or I'm just trying to get it legalized. That these are entirely different goals that are going to send you on entirely different paths.
Right, exactly. And you was mentioning tree.
Right.
Just for our audience, there's multiple languages here in Ghana. What makes tree the main language?
Very good. So ethnically, the main ethnic group in Ghana is the Akan people. And Chi, so Akan is also the language. Now underneath Akan you can picture Akan as the umbrella, and underneath that you have Asante Chi, which is most widely spoken variety of Akan, Ekwapim Chi, and Fanti. Actually the order Asante, and then Fanti, and then Ekwapim. And these are what they call the literary dialects, meaning that you can go and read books in all of these dialects. But then you have other dialects that aren't, you know, written down per se. So you have like Aguna, Denchira, you know, I can go down the whole list, Achim. And to some degree you can say, okay, the Achim patterns like the Asante, you know, Bono, you know, so all these other ones. But for Akan, because it's the dominant ethnic group, most people either speak it as the first language, and you see some percentages, 46% as first language, and then some people give as high as 70%, 80% as a second language. And I travel to other places, and if you find a Ghanaian community, they'll be speaking Chi. From my own experience, go to Burkina Faso, they say, where are you coming from? Ghana. You go to the Ghana community, everybody's communicating in Chi. Now you have Ghana people, you have people from the north, whatever, but Chi becomes that lingua franca. Same thing in Mali. Found the Ghana community there, everybody's communicating in Chi. The Ghana Association in Wisconsin, where I went to school, people speaking in Chi, you know, so you have Ewe's there, you have Ghans there. Now one of the challenges is because of a lot of the history, especially Asante being known as quite warlike and things of that nature, it's very difficult for people to just say, let's get on the bandwagon, let's all just promote Chi. So people would rather say, let's all be under English than to say, all right, let's lift up one African. And it's really indicative of where we are as a people, that rather than let any African rise, we'd rather have us all be subjugated to a common enemy. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. And another thing, I heard that you have a new system helping, because coming to Ghana could seem a little overwhelming to people. I heard that you have a system that can assist people. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we actually launched the website, a soft launch, meaning that you can go there now. We're going to do a hard launch where we're going to, you know, promote and have people come out. So it's called repatriateToGhana.com. And when you go there, you can see the FAQs, frequently asked questions. I'll do consultation for free. Then there's also paid options as well for those who want to go more in depth and have more of that type of relationship and information. But again, what the repatriateToGhana.com is all about is assisting people, because I see so many repatriates who have horror stories, who come here with $30,000 and then within a year that's gone. And like, where did that go? Now, just for me, just even doing the free consultation, that will save you a lot of heartache of, you mentioned the story of people being robbed and things like that, that there are certain things that, all right, you may not want to be in this community. You know, just these tips and things like that can save a lot of people a lot of the heartache, and then a lot of the money as well. So that's basically what it's all about. We're kind of trying to be like the Harriet Tubman, right? But instead of the Underground Railroad, we have the Undercloud Railroad. You're flying in, you know. And you know, I think we have a responsibility to assist others, even those who can't afford it. You know, we're willing to do the free consultation, but of course, my time is valuable. You know, all the experience. So those who are interested in getting more in depth, We'll have weekly, I can discuss some of the things.
Right.
Also got citizenship back in 2016.
Yep,
Where
congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Right.
Shook hands with the president of Ghana as he handed that document to me to say, I'm not giving you anything, I'm restoring your birthright, what is yours.
Right.
That, all of that came out of the work of an elder, Dr. Maulana, in the community. And we were hosting at African Studies what he called the Ministry of the Future. And it was really his own personal connections to the executive secretary of the president of Ghana at that time.
Okay.
But we started these monthly meetings, and I made African Studies available so that we can discuss what we need to do as African people, regardless of location, Black people regardless of location. And then from that, one thing led to the other. And next thing we know, we got a call that, on this date, you're getting your citizenship.
Wow.
So it's very major, especially for my great-grandfather who was in the UNIA, Marcus Garvey, back to Africa. So I really see myself not only repatriating, but getting citizenship as an extension of, some of his hopes and dreams and aspirations way back in the 20s and 30s. So, yeah.
Wow. And that's another thing. A lot of people do ask us about citizenship.
Right.
That's my question. Does your program help people with citizenship? And
Absolutely.
also, do you assist people with the local language? Because you speak it very well.
Absolutely.
You actually teach it, right?
I actually teach it.
In the university.
I teach it at the university, and that was my entire goal in learning Chi.
Right.
I said I want to learn it well enough to be able to teach Ghanaians the language at a university level, and that's exactly what I'm doing now.
Wow.
And what I do, I've seen other people teach, some who are native speakers, but what often ends up being taught is Chinglish, so a mix of Chi and the English.
Right.
And what I do is every class I'll bring a kente cloth, and then I'll go through the proverb. These are Ghanaians, and some of them are like, oh yeah, I already speak Chi. But then I'll ask them, do you know what proverb is associated with this kente? They're like, no. And it's a proverb that actually talks about character. It talks about living life and things like that, that if you have the knowledge that's in the language, it's not enough to just be able to say, all right, I want to buy Coca-Cola in the language.
Right.
Or how much is this? And then, that's it. That there's a world view, that, there's a proverb in Chi, which is that the ancient times have something to say, ancient times have something to teach. And all of these lessons, so I'm either bringing kente, or I'm bringing a dinkra, or I'm bringing in like gold weights, all these types of things that have these messages embedded by our ancestors to help with life and living and things of that nature. So that was the goal, was to be able to teach it at that university level. But then I also teach it online. So I founded my own social media network called Abibitumi, and we actually call it a social education communiversity.
Okay.
So many of us rely on white folks who are stealing our data, as we found out with Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook, and he owns all of them, Instagram and whatever.
It's true.
It came out that, they're stealing your data and selling it off. This is a breach of trust. But we're so used to depending on our white enemies for every single thing that we do. It's just normal. So they could tell you Mark Zuckerberg stabbed your mama in the back, we'll still be there and say,
wow.
But where else can you get better clothes than this? Where else can you find better food than this, And that's really what Malcolm X used to call that house Negro type of mentality, that rather than establishing our own institutions and our own platforms, there's a proverb in Chi, they say, that's saying that if it takes 30 years for the tree to grow crooked, you're not going to straighten it out in one day.
It's true, man. Okay, so continue off of we're relying on the system.
And this is the thing, you got so many people, and this is a thing that can be frustrating, but you got so many people who are supposed to be conscious or whatever, and they can tell you everything about how integration destroyed our bus lines and our hotel lines and whatever. But then, nowadays the equivalent is being digital integrationists, and that's usually what we are.
Right.
That rather than establishing our own presences, like you're saying, nativeborne.com, abibitumi.com, repatriatetheghana.com, these are our own platforms.
Right.
So we don't have to worry. And then we have our own servers, so we don't have to worry about on a whim some white folks say, we're going to take you down, you're going to do this, we're going to do that. So, this is essentially what we're trying to do is, in the future, our children are going to judge us just like how we judge those who were down with integration and saw how it collapsed the Negro League, saw how it collapsed all these cottage industries that grew up around that. And they're going to say, okay, well, what were you doing? And we're going to say, oh, well, I had 20 likes on my on my video. I had 1,000 followers on my Facebook or whatever it is.
The culture's changing, man.
Yeah, yeah. It's changing to some degree, and to some degree it's staying the same because this is what we were doing back at that point in time. We were relying on somebody else to do for us.
Right.
So for me, I said, all right, I'm done socializing on any white social media.
Right.
So I said, all right, if people want to link with me on the African one, either Abibitumi or Black Junction or Black Spot or any other black ones.
Okay.
Because we got our own platform. So that's one of the things that also is a contribution, because at the end of the day, you're not going to hand over your whatever Facebook account to your children, but you can hand over the business that you've grown, whether it's digital, on the ground, or a combination of the two, which is what I recommend.
Right. Right. You want to elaborate more on the tree?
Yeah, so with the tree, through Abibitumi.com, I actually started teaching there in 2006. So established it about 12 years ago. And it's very important for us to learn, just for our worldview, that if we're talking about living righteously and things of that nature, that there are so many lessons that are embedded in our languages. So, I've been teaching Chi online, Yoruba online, Wolof online, also Seba Bunochi Montgomery at ASCAC, that's Association for the Study of Classical African Civilizations. He comes on board and teaches the Medu Necha, what they call hieroglyphs. We have another teacher, Dada Aprili, based out of Tanzania. She teaches the Kiswahili. So it's really Pan-African, it's Africans all over the world coming on board to teach African languages. And for those who plan on being in Ghana, if you don't know the language, you'll have a very different experience from those who do, because people will just be looking at you and they'll start saying something to you in Chi. And if you don't know what it is, you may get into that car crash. You understand?
Wow, exactly.
They were trying to tell you, frio. You're like, oh, free haul, what's that? He haul, what? Right. So, it's a vastly different experience based on what you're doing.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I'll edit that. Now, when you mentioned about payment plans,
Right.
you want me to mention that, or maybe they could get that information online?
Once we point them to the site, I can just let them. I think I mentioned that we do it for free, and then we have different packages.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
All right, we'll keep that. All right. Okay, so coming here, people are asking about, okay, what's a good, so when you come to Ghana, people are asking what's the good neighborhoods, let me say that again. So coming here, people are asking about what's the best place to stay.
Right.
They're talking about bank accounts, they're talking about different things just to get themselves set up. Do you have any recommendations when it comes to those things, those type of services?
Yeah, I do. So one, you can check out the frequently asked questions there on repatriate.ghana.com. But in general, what I would say is it's helpful to speak to those who are already on the ground, about things like that. So there are several banks, and for those who may not know, so Barclays is one of the major banks here that was involved in enslaving our ancestors, financing the enslavement of our ancestors. So for those who have any level of consciousness, you may not want to bank with your enslavers. Same thing, Standard Charter, that was also involved in enslaving our African ancestors. But then you have black banks like EcoBank, like Cow Bank, so forth and so on. So these are some of the things for people who repatriate. Usually a lot of people want to go to a place that's beautiful. Who wouldn't, right? So you have the water, you have the mountains with a beautiful vista, a view of everything. Now there are challenges with either one. So if you're on the water, that salt water is going to eat through the nails. So you're putting, stuff on the walls and then the pictures are falling off. So there are some of these just practical challenges that are on the ground that you may never think about unless you're talking to somebody who's been here. There are things, in terms of the mountains that you'll get less mosquitoes, but at night it may get a little bit cooler. So then, what exactly are you interested in doing? How do you want to live? Things like that. So these are the technicalities of those who, come to repatriate to Ghana.com. We have like the free consultation, but then we have the paid consultation where, you can call me up even anytime. And for those are more involved, but for those who may have challenges with the finances, then we have the payment plans and things like that. And basically what we're trying to do is save people that $2,000 ticket from, having to go back to the U.S.
Exactly. So it's like a savings in the long run, get that help.
there's an expression of penny wise and pound foolish. So, I want to save all my penny, but then when it comes to the pounds, you're just throwing that away. So we're trying to, have people just invest in themselves with the prepatriation,
Right.
before the repatriation.
Right. And it's another thing. I met someone that came to Ghana, and they was kind of nervous about eating the local foods and certain things like that because they was afraid about illness, being sick. Do you have any advice about, like, for example, malaria and what people can do to protect themselves?
Yeah, those are the two major things: are stomach issues and then malaria issues.
Right.
So with the stomach issues, and this is for anybody. I had a friend out of Gabon who was here in school, and he said when he first came to Ghana, he had stomach issues.
Wow.
Because there are different little buggies, bacteria, whatever, in Gabon than there are in Ghana. So people shouldn't take it any kind of way that if you're moving from one place of the world to the other place of the world, then you're going to have those types of challenges just as your body gets used to the natural microbes occurring in the environment and stuff like that. Some people are like, well, I'm African, I should be able to eat anything, I should be able to do anything. That there's a transition, and just being humble and dealing with that. I had a friend who, he saw everybody in the community walking with shoes on their feet. He decided to walk barefoot because, hey, I'm free, I'm in Africa, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do.
Oh my God.
He ended up having, an issue with his leg from, some type of bacteria,
wow.
So the people who were there, they kind of knew what they were doing.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
they were like, no, put something on. He's in the, the riverside and walking through stuff like that. So these are the things. One thing that I would recommend for the stomach issues, activated charcoal,
Right.
or what they call kaolin powder. It's like a white chalky substance. That's white clay, and they have different types of bentonite clay, things like that.
Right,
And those have adsorbent properties. So that, and I was looking at a documentary with my daughter that there's a bird called the macaw in Central Africa. And it's able to eat poisonous berries, and what it does is after that it goes and takes this white clay, the same thing that they're now selling for big money.
Yeah.
And kale pectate, that's the kale, is the kaolin powder, that they take that clay and they grind it up into a powder. And all these stomach issues that the kale pectate is for, it's all African wisdom and African ancestry that, we have this knowledge of this is how to treat those types of things. For the malaria, the neem, and the false ashoka, if you have it, like, no matter what, by morning it'll be gone. So these are some of the things that you can advise, because when I came here, I didn't have people to tell me these things.
Right.
So I got malaria, and I actually went into a coma from the malaria. If I would have known then what I know now, it can kill you if you don't do anything about it.
Right.
But it's child's play if you know what to do about it.
Exactly.
So, a couple weeks ago, my son had malaria. Just went, pluck this leaf, pluck that leaf, have him bathe in it, have him drink it, steam it. By the morning, he was running around, ha, 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 ha.
Exactly.
Now, if we didn't treat it, there are children who pass away from that, adults who pass away from that. So don't play with it, but once you know what it is, and then link with those who know what it's about.
Exactly. So don't be afraid about those things. We got your back. There's ways and there's remedies to take care of that. But we have to be knowledgeable what we get ourselves into, no matter where you go. So that's why we want to put out this information so that you guys could be knowledgeable, because when you're ignorant, it could kill you. When we have knowledge, you'll be successful. All right? All right. So people who want to come to Ghana, what is your recommendation on what to do first when they touch the ground?
The first thing that I would say is even, the prepatriation, that's what Repatriate to Ghana does, is, link with an African who has already repatriated. Or, some people have Ghanaians they went to school with, that type of deal.
Right.
But link with someone who has done it before. If you think about, the Underground Railroad, that they had, a chain of different cabins that you can stop at, people to guide you, show you the ropes. Harriet Tubman.
Right.
It's not just, if you're doing it on your own, you may be going up north, but then you stumble into a Klan rally. You understand what's going on. Just to give you a type of situation. Of course, the Klan wasn't for the majority of the Underground Railroad that's after. But just, to give it a point of have somebody to kind of show you the ropes so you're not guessing. I know so many Africans who end up spending their life savings and then back over in the US or back in the Caribbean or back in the UK. Whereas if they had somebody to guide them along that path,
Sure.
then they would have, been able to save. Like I look at it like saving $30,000,
Right.
and that's $30,000 going back to the U.S. That's 40,000. And what I say is, any time a person repatriates, basically what they're doing, they're robbing the bank, because that $100,000 that they would have been spending in the U.S.
Right.
enriching those same white folks is money that they're going to be spending here in Africa to build up Africa, so that Africa can be a superpower. And then when people want to mess with you in the U.S., they say, hold up, we can't do that, because guess what? Ghana got nukes. Because guess what? Ghana got an army. Because guess what? Ghana got diplomacy. Right now, that's not the situation. They can push you around. They can shoot you down the streets. And the AU can't say anything because they're getting their financing from those same white folks. So
Wow.
building African power, that's what it's all about.
Awesome. That's deep. So okay. Aquapump. Oh, you already mentioned that one. Okay, Aquapump. Okay, brother. So, how many languages do you speak?
I count 6-ish.
Wow, you serious?
If I go to the ones that I don't count, it'll be somewhere in the 30s, but I don't count all of those.
Right.
But the ones I'm most proficient at, Chi, Yoruba, Wolof are my main 3. Then I'm conversational in Kiswahili. And what I actually did on my other site, Abibitumi.com, I have it such that the whole website can display in Kiswahili. So I've been doing that just to keep my Kiswahili on point. And then Kikongo, I'm rereading a text, Self-Healing Power and Therapy, to again brush up on the Kikongo. So I count all of those. English, and then Portuguese. The Portuguese came from the Capoeira. So I learned about 200, 300 songs in Portuguese, and then traveled to Brazil. And there, when they say they don't speak English, they're not joking. So you get there, and if you don't speak no Portuguese, you're gonna be hungry, you're gonna be tired and suffering.
Really?
So that was, another thing. So I'll count those. But then some that if I go to a francophone country, then I have basic survival French.
Right.
So je ne mange pas le boeuf, things like that. So just things that I can keep my vegan lifestyle, and I can make sure I'm not eating a child or something. And then if I'm in an Ethiopian restaurant, I can do all my ordering in Amarinya.
Okay.
So I can say, Zos Misarwat Falekalu, deal with all those types of things. But I never count Amharic, because if you take me out of the restaurant, no, I can't deal.
Right.
But and then greetings in like dozens and dozens of languages. Anytime I meet anybody, I want to know, how do you greet in your language?
Exactly.
So I can greet in Zulu, and but again, I can't count those because.
Right, gotcha.
But I know other people who do count it. So you meet some continental Africans, like, oh, I speak 10 languages, and then they mention one that you want to have a conversation. Oh, well, I lived in Nigeria back in 1982, so I learned Yoruba then. It's like, no, let's have a conversation in Yoruba. So I'll bring it. So I learned from that to, keep it to the ones that you actually know,
Gotcha,
right?
right.
Otherwise, somebody may test you and you can't go so far.
I love that how so invested you are, because that's important, because we got to build. We got to start from somewhere. We have to take it seriously to be independent, to build a nation, because we're a target.
Yeah.
We're a target, and if we don't become serious, then what's the future going to hold? So I'm really just happy, and I appreciate how invested you are. And you have a lot to teach people. And you have taught my family, and we're learning small,
Yeah.
but we're coming along.
The girls are doing well. They're able to sing.
Yeah.
Especially, I want to pull one out, but Amira is our songbird. You teach her a song, she is on it. She want to be on the mic, like, yo, this is. And it's, it's humbling, because these are songs that she wouldn't be singing if she wasn't, for example, coming to the school on a day-to-day basis using the language. And anytime they come through, they're speaking more, they're greeting more, and they're getting comfortable. So it's not like, some people, their children they never really integrate, because they're always around other repatriates. They're always, and then it becomes kind of like the Liberia situation where it's kind of like, oh, we're better than the natives type of thing. Whereas if you integrate, if you start to learn a language, then you can have conversations on common ground, right? So, you know, I got all these people who are like, yeah, we're socialists, we're about the people, we're this, we're that. But then they never learn the language of the majority of people here in Africa. So then it becomes the only people you can speak to are the 6% of the elitists in the population. So, you know, what are you actually about? Are you just want to have conference Pan-Africanism, or do you want to actually live behavior Pan-African living?
Right. Awesome. Well, brother, you have given so much wisdom here today, man. We appreciate your time and everything that you've been doing. Most definitely check out the website. Go ahead, just analyze the whole thing, and we're here to help you guys. This is the thing that we want to do with Native Borne Family, is to connect you guys with the right people, the people that know what they're talking about, the people who can help you, because we want this to be an easy transition. Now, once again, I was mentioning to the people that it's not about necessarily just moving to Ghana right away, but to have a connection and to build their way back to the continent if they want to, because everybody have different plans. But what is some of your advice when it comes to investing in Africa, or even when to move? Because some people want to move right away, or some people want to take their time. What is your advice in that?
Right. So we actually have a questionnaire on repatriateToGhana.com, so we tailor things based on what your goals are.
Right.
Do you want to move in 1 year, in 5 years? Do you have a plan? Is it just you? Is it your entire family? Is it a couple, children involved? So all of those things, we'll actually tailor our suggestions based on your specific situation. Because it's different for a bachelor who's coming versus somebody who's coming with 5 children.
It's true.
Clearly, you'll have different responsibilities and things. Just on a personal level, and this is one thing that I assist with, that I recommend, linking with those who are here. But then there's a brother who said he wanted to build a solar factory. Now, having been installed as Bamuchinam Henia Equipem Mampon, that comes with hundreds and hundreds of acres of land. So I said, this is one thing, it'll help out that community, right?
Exactly.
And the thing that they pride, specifically that community more than anything else, is that they're known for Tete Kwashi, who brought cocoa to Ghana. Now, cocoa is the main export crop in Ghana, right? And what Ghana's wealth has been built on over the decades, right? Even more than gold, right? When they call this Gold Coast, like the cocoa even supersedes that as the main basic foundation of the economy. You can look at maybe those two, and now oil is here. But Tete Kwashi was a Ga man. He wasn't from Equapim. And because that community was willing to bring him in, now that's the glory of the community, is that Ghana's wealth is founded on what Tete Kwashi brought to Equapim Mampong. So just the fact that we're willing to bring in other Africans and help them assimilate, help them integrate, help them be part of the community. So when I go to Equapim Mampong, everybody says, oh, you're Mamponi. They say he is a Mampong person. You understand? And then to be installed there is, just another level. And it's an interesting story how that came about. That this is the last one.
Because they've been waiting to be a drumming class all this time.
Okay, so this is the last one.
This is the last one.
So even just being at Equipment Mampon, as I was saying, that.
You said an interesting story. You had an interesting story.
Yes.
Sorry, I thought you lost your frame of thought.
That's fine. We can edit it. It'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, there was an issue about land, and like I had 2 plots, and my parents had bought 4 plots adjoining to it. Now there was somebody who showed up, a Ghanaian pastor, who showed up and was like, "Oh, I bought this land."
What?
So it became a thing. Now, for me, I'm a traditionalist. That means I respect the culture, respect the ancestors, our traditions, things of that nature. And then here's a pastor who, is always bad-mouthing or whatever. So I appealed to the traditional authorities, and they took my side. Now, here's an African from the diaspora. You may think, oh, well, the Ghanaians are going to, shaft you or whatever. But they say, the way to handle this situation is we'll install you as a traditional ruler. Then, with us on your side, you don't have to worry about this. So to me, that was enlightening, that if you have respect for the people, for the culture, for the tradition, then it's not even a thing of Ghanaian versus diasporan. It's we are all Africans who respect our ancestors.
Right,
And here's
right.
somebody who doesn't respect their ancestors, who bow mouths and whatever.
Exactly.
So just from having access to that land, I would of course recommend Mampong, you know, as a place, especially for those who have projects like the brother with the solar factory.
Right, right.
You know, there's a brother who's doing water, like all types of things. So I'm always like, because I'm there and I have oversight and I can actually know what the internal workings of the community are.
Okay.
Because I also understand the language. So all these decisions are always taken communally. It's not a thing of, oh, the quote unquote chief or king makes decisions and nobody else knows. That they don't make any single decision without consulting the entire community. So at Owukude, everybody sits down. And, you know, this is what they talk about traditional African democracy, that, you know, all of the Abusia Pinyin 4, these are the elders of the, you know, families, but then anyone can raise their hand and speak. So if there's something that's harmful to the community, they can veto it. And I've seen on several occasions the ruler of Mampong be vetoed. He says, I want to do this. No. And then they argue it out. And then at the end of the day, we do something else.
Wow.
And this is what you'll see only when you're part of it. Because, you know, a lot of people, their frame of reference is, you know, Lancelot and whatever, oh, off with his head. You know, that's white kingship. But the Africa one, nah. You are the spokesperson of the community.
Right.
You have responsibility to the community. It's not, oh, I'm doing what I want, I can do whatever. No, what it means is you have more responsibility to defend the community, to do all these types of things. So that's the African situation. But again, you won't know that if, you know, you're off at Groton and Harvard and all these places, Achimota School, and you never come back here to Africa. Then you have that white view. But when you're actually here on the ground, then you actually see what it's all about. And it's about responsibility to your own people, to African people.
Wow, wow. So that's a wealth of wisdom, y'all. And that's what I've been telling them. Get involved in the community, adapt to the culture, and this could be a place that you can live and be comfortable at. And I feel comfortable here. I feel good with my family here. And meeting people like you, it helps us to learn and grow. And it's just a good future here, y'all. So, yo. Yes, that was a lot of information. I hope you guys took it in. Press rewind if you have to. We got the doctor here, a very knowledgeable brother. I'm really excited. Thank you so much, brother, for your time.
Appreciate you too, Medasi.
All right, thank
And
you.
everybody remember Sankofa. And we do the Sankofa journey as well. So those who want to test the waters first, look at sankofajourney.com, sankofajourney.org. We do the 2 weeks here. And you're actually learning the language as you're moving around, interacting with people here on the ground. And then also repatriatetogana.com, abibitumi.com, that's to learn the language. So we got a lot for you because, again, someone who is sitting on the mango tree, their brother shouldn't starve on the ground. We have a responsibility to help others who want to take the same path. So appreciate you too.
Awesome. All right, y'all. So that's it for now. Make sure you hit that like button, hit the notification button, and leave your comments. Until next time, peace. See you another time.